And good Wednesday afternoon. My name is Ryan Belmore, and I am the owner and publisher of What's Up Newp. We're a week late, but we are back. Of course, last Wednesday we had some power outages from here, there, and everywhere across Rhode Island, so we weren't able to get in our interview last week, but we are here today. And the hostess with the mostest is Mr. Frank Prosnitz. How are you, Frank?
I'm doing fine. How are you, Ryan?
I'm all right.
You a little cold with your sweater and sweatshirt and hoodie all ready to go?
I am a little cold. So, but very important conversation and a very timely conversation today, Frank.
Yeah, sure. Colleen Jermain, Superintendent of Schools in Newport, comes on with us monthly now, which is great. And there's so many important things. In fact, very interesting. Last night or yesterday, the voters in Portsmouth approved their school bond. That was good to see. With we've had a couple of communities that have turned South Kingstown and Wesley still struggles with where it's going. But it was nice to see voters in Portsmouth and also on a smaller scale in Central Falls approve school bonds.
Yeah, that is. I'm very happy for my colleagues, both in Central Falls and Portsmouth. I know Superintendent Kenworthy, he was trying to get that vote out. So congratulations to my island friend out in Portsmouth. So it's good news.
And they also had another interesting referendum that didn't necessarily pertain to schools, but that was that apparently will lead to the conversion of a school into elderly affordable housing. And I remember years ago in Warwick, the Lockwood School, that was changed into housing. It works. You can do that.
Well, I believe here in Newport, we have quite a few of our schools that have been converted into living arrangements. And I think they call it age required buildings.
That's nice.
Yes.
But it's a great use. The elderly are, we think about affordable housing. We often think of families or younger people, but the elderly certainly, to a great degree, face that kind of concern. How are things going? Newport schools, you've been in session now for a couple of months.
We have, and things are going well, knock on wood. It's a very busy time of year. November's already here. The first quarter is going to be ending very shortly, next week, I believe. Grades and report cards. Grades are coming in, report cards are going out. So we'll be taking a look at where our students are at and what supports. We've put in some supports due to the ESSER II funding. We've been able to add to multi-support systems, people at each level that are able to help track us with children and data, and to help provide more individualized attention to their academics. We've also, at the high school here, we've implemented during the day tutoring for our students. So when they have time, we have teachers that have come forward to give their time to do in-school tutoring to keep our students on track. We're going to be implementing a Saturday academy pretty soon for students here at the high school so they can stay on track to graduate on time. Our 9th grade academy is moving along. Principal Vance and the high school team is really moving forward. At the elementary school, we have almost all our reading teachers, special ed teachers, are involved in the science of reading training that actually has to do with brain development and language acquisition. And we're very excited about that. It's about 60 to 70 hours of additional time. And then they have to take exams. It's just like going back to school. And we're very proud of that initiative down there at Pell, along with we've received additional interpreters and EL teachers with our ESSER funding. And then at the middle school, we've been able to hire an additional counselor, an additional support person, again, for attendance, working with families. So we're busy. We're busy.
Yeah.
And then we've heard great news yesterday. We're part of the LEAPS initiative for district support. The LEAPS district support is, we were one of the communities that will be receiving an additional $1.7 million
Wow.
to help us as far as providing students and our teachers supports. So we're very excited about that. I just was on the phone this morning with our RIDE liaison. We'll be meeting with Wested and the other company that's involved. I can't remember. They're out of Harvard, Proving Ground. They'll be meeting with us, and we'll be looking at specific to Newport, our data, what's going on, how we can support specific to Newport initiatives using metrics that are transparent and clear for everyone, which is something I think everyone likes the idea, so you can really see where you're at, whether it's working or not working, and using that new baseline that all of us are going to be using, as the commissioner said, after COVID. So and we have 2 school building projects going
Right,
on.
of course. Who could forget? Who could forget? Well,
Let's not forget that.
Let's backtrack for a moment. This
Okay.
1.7 million.
Yes.
When you talk about initiatives, is there anything specific we can point to, or is this more of just building a foundation for other projects?
This is this must align to ESSER 3 and the LEAPS report. Last year, well, not last year, I keep saying last year, at the beginning of this calendar year, in January, February, RIDE came forward, the commissioner and other leaders, and they developed the LEAPS task force. And the purpose of this was to be prepared for when we come back to in-person school. And so how are we going to support our children and our families, knowing when we were in either hybrid or distance learning, that it wasn't the same as being in person. So they set forth 7 specific areas of which school districts should focus on. And we had these discussions in the spring of 21. So when we started to receive ESSER 2, Newport started to apply some of this funding towards those initiatives. But they had school improvement, they had talent, talent in your staffing, what type of hires, student engagement, instruction, which we've already started implementing like other districts, high quality curriculum. We've been working on that. Equity, expanded learning, before, after, outside the 4 walls, and student engagement, as far as where and how are you ensuring that students are fully engaged in other learning opportunities besides the 4 walls. And that's our community outreach, our before and after school programs, our on the weekend programs, and how can we help to fully develop the whole child. So the LEAPS initiative was something, and I don't think any of us ever dreamed there was going to be funding for this, but it was just a plan to kind of, how are you going to come back to full in-person learning, and as a school system and a school district, how are you going to implement initiatives, or through, this was all research-based tactics to be able to move your district forward based upon what we would see from the testing results. We knew the testing, I'm sorry?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
The testing results, we knew when the children were taking them during the spring, were a best effort. Not all children took the tests, because some families were very leery about even allowing their children to go into the school. Children that were distance learning full time, in Newport, we actually had a specific day, Monday. Those children came in to the schools, and you have to remember we were under COVID, so we had to make sure we followed all COVID regulations and guidance. So it was a very tricky situation. Literally, I think it was from February to the beginning of April, we were testing children that were in distance learning because they were not allowed to take any tests from home. So that's the data we have now. That was just recently was released, and that's our new baseline. So we're starting with that baseline and we're moving forward. So, but then we find out this week there's funding for some communities, and they had specific criteria they looked at when they were determining which communities would be eligible for this. I believe they looked at first they looked at the COVID impact, looking at the data of COVID and how it impacted the communities. Then they looked at academic performance. They looked at a diversity in the community. They looked at the free and reduced numbers in a community, and those were, all the things they put together that impacted the communities, and then they made their determination. So I believe it's
so
another $20 million they're feeding into our districts total.
my presumption is that this program and some of the others that you mentioned earlier are in part at least meant for kids to catch up for what we know has been a difficult year of learning when they were doing distance learning.
It is, the initiatives are for that, but I'll give you a for instance. In Newport, it's like a dream come true, the amount of funding coming in, because it's also helping us to address our structures that we have in place because of budgets and because of, cuts we've had to make to, for whatever reason. And a good example is Newport has taken some of this money and a very simple but very powerful tool, our paraeducators. Our paraeducators literally came into the building 15 minutes after students arrived and then left 15 minutes before school was over. So especially with our little ones, when you have 25 little bodies with boots and jackets and all that other, they didn't come in till after school had started. So it was kind of like that continuity. First, it's the safety factor of having 2 adults in the classroom when it started, and then the continuity of starting the day with 2 adults, whether it's lessons, whether it's just getting the class organized. And then at the end of the day, when they're going out for buses. So we were able to, unfortunately with my school committee, they supported it. My business director and my director of student services, during COVID, we were starting to look at structures that maybe when we come back, we might want to rethink based upon what we were seeing, what we were thinking about we were going to have to do. And this was one of them. That did have a dollar figure with it, and we've used some of our ESSER funding for that. So then we looked at our transportation and we made investments in vans. So again, to support the children coming back, we knew transportation was a challenge for them. So now we're able to bring our students to their internships, or bring our students over to CCRI for those that are involved in P-TECH. So we started to have, during COVID, we used a lot of that time from a leadership position to look at what the LEAPS task force was recommending, and then also look at our structure, knowing that these funds were coming in, and seeing if we can finally have the structures in place that we believe will support a powerful learning system. So
I presume what it sounds like, and what I'm sure has happened, is that out of COVID and out of all of that distance learning, while it was a difficult year, there were certain things that allowed you to take a look at how you were operating and how you would operate in the future, and maybe even some lessons that are taken out of that can be applied now when you're back to normal.
We have, and I think, and I know for Newport, just what we're doing right now, a lot of our administrative meetings or things we do on the screen instead of, the thing about traveling, going places and whatnot. It's funny. It's a simple thing. Just get in the car. It's not like it's a big, huge city, but just saving that time, some time saving strategies or practices we were using, we've continued as far as keeping the Zooms. For parents, connecting sometimes this way is much easier for them during their work hour or when they get home than coming physically into the building at times. So we've been able to set up additional meetings in that way. We also learned the importance of attendance, and we found that our families need more support. So we only had attendance is a challenge here as far as for our students. So with the ESSER 2 funding, we started to, and we have hired 3 additional, we call them family facilitators, family attendance facilitators that work with the families to help get the children to school on time, to help them with anything they have as far as challenging, as far as after school, before school. But we were able to have deeper conversations about that. And again, that student engagement part and attendance is so important that we started and created positions like that for the 2 years to see if it has impact. And then we'll use our metrics, and our metrics will be, is attendance improving? Are families feeling more involved and part of our school system? So we'll know if it works or doesn't work. So
You mentioned the building projects. Where are we at with those, and how are they going?
Well, we have a topping ceremony next week for Pell. So I'll start with Pell. Pell's the new building addition. We have 8 new rooms in the new addition. We have a new bus loop that will help with the traffic and safety features of the beginning of the day, end of the day, during drop off, etc. You have to remember this is a school building of 900 children and plus adults and everything else. So we have rerouted some of the traffic patterns. So B&B Brothers and Studio Jade are our partners in this with Downs, our OPM. And we're moving along very well. So the steel is arriving. Woohoo! I don't know if it's coming in this afternoon or if it's going to be tomorrow,
Yeah.
but the steel will arrive. That's always been the big thing: is the steel going to get here? And so then next week we'll set up the crane and we'll have the children sign the beam, and we'll do the topping next Thursday afternoon at Pell Elementary School, which will be very exciting. And so the children will be able to see that, and the community. So that's a big milestone in the project. So we're very excited about that. This afternoon, I'll be joining the leadership team, the principal, my co-chairs and others, and we'll be going through some of the nitty-gritty as far as the shelving, the color schemes. I think we've gotten those all down. It's kind of like decorating a house to some degree. And then just making sure we get those things ordered well in advance. August is the finish date, but because of the delay with the COVID impact of delivery times and everything else, we're trying to get all these orders well in advance so that everything will be in for delivery for the Pell project. Our staff, everyone's being great over there at Pell.
What's been the escalation in cost?
23 to 24%. And I do have to give a shout out to the Van Buren Charitable Foundation. If it weren't for their donation and help, we probably wouldn't have been able to stay within budget. But because of their help, we're on target.
That's great. How big a grant did they give you?
Oh, let's see. So far, I think we've received, I have so many numbers in my head. I believe it was about $470,000 so far. And they've asked us to resubmit for another part of the project, which is actually due at the end of this week. So hopefully, if that goes well, we'll be receiving additional funds for our Welcome Center. That is also going to be part of the building addition at Pell.
And so you expect next August, if all goes well,
Mm-hmm.
for that to be completed. So next year, kids will be in not a new school, but certainly an upgraded school.
That is correct. Yes, absolutely. With a new Welcome Center, which is something we know we truly believe will be a great asset for our families. When they first visit the Newport Public Schools, we'll have, a little center there for them. They can learn about our schools, learn about all the program, PK through 12. We'll also have some technology there for them. We also will have interpreters and be able to meet all our multi-language families, especially with an increase in our military families, which we love. And this being military celebration month, celebrating Military Families Month. We're very excited that we're going to have two Coast Guard cutters coming with all their families. All the personnel and their families will be coming back to Aquidneck Island. So there's a lot going on.
Oh, indeed. How about the high school? Where are we with Rogers?
Oh, the high school. The high school. That's our biggie. The high school, we're very excited about the high school. We've seen some amazing schematic designs, but as you heard about Pell, which is a much smaller project, that COVID impact and escalation in material costs, delivery times, and shortage of labor is having us, giving us a run for our money. Let's just say that, literally, run for money. I shouldn't say for the money, but we are. We're still in the schematic design phase, and we're actually next week is a very important date for us, because by then, with working with SLAM, that is our architect design, and working with Gilbane, our partner there, with Downs as our OPM, we'll be making some decisions, final decisions on that's the design we want you to go with, and let's move forward on it so we can submit it to RIDE. The challenge for us is that back in 2018-19, when we were approved for a building size at so many dollars, that so many dollars is becoming very challenging for us to meet. So we've been trying to look at different ways of possibly, again, looking at federal, state, local, and private alternative funding sources to see if we can manage to get the most, first and foremost, the programming we want for our children in the new build. And if we're not able to do that, are there other ideas that could help sustain us for a certain period of time? We don't want to delay the project, because delaying the project, as we've been hearing, is just going to be more costs. So we're literally, Frank, it's a 24/7.
Yeah.
When you wake up during the day, when you put your head down on the pillow, it's like, okay, what are we going to be able to do with this? And we've got a lot of people.
What was the original cost?
Pardon?
What was the original cost? The bond that was approved for the high school?
For the high school, it was a 98 million.
And so my presumption is you're looking at probably at least 25% increase on that or more.
Possibly, yes. Yeah. We're still shaving here and there every day. Yes.
And your target date for completion?
Our target date is August of 2024. We literally, the original plan was, let's see, right after April break, the auditorium and the gym were going to be knocked down. Demolition was going to start. We don't know if the timeline slid a little bit because schematic design has been taking so long, meaning longer than expected due to, looking at costs, et cetera. So it slid a little. So demolition may not occur until maybe May, June, depending upon what we do with that schematic design.
When that demolition occurs and those parts of the building aren't available, what happens to those activities?
Well, for the auditorium program, we're within the building. That'll be a scheduling and sharing of space with our teachers. So we'll be doing some shifting of where we have some programming happen. And then for the PE, that's mostly the gym. We'll have to have our sports activities in another location. For instance, if we're going to be a home team or not, we're going to have to look into some of our community partners to help us with that. And then also for during the day activities, we have fields around us. We have a park up, across in both directions. So we do have other locations for outdoor activities. Indoor activities, we figure, I think at the high school level, we'll be holding mostly our health classes during that time, during the cold months, so that, the students wouldn't be outside. So it's a lot of logistics and planning.
I wanted to shift gears for a moment, and we have a terrible homeless situation in Rhode Island, only getting worse. I had a conversation this morning with Russ Partridge, who runs the Warm Center in Wesley, and Russ is very well respected around the state. He says he's never seen anything like this in 30 years in his job. And we talk about kids in schools. Kids Count, I think, identifies roughly 1,500 kids in schools across the state who are considered homeless. And I presume there is a percentage of those who are in Newport. My question is it a problem, and how are you able to address and deal with these kids?
So yes, unfortunately, we do have families that are displaced or are homeless. Sometimes we call it their couch surfing too,
Right.
which means they're doubling up with other families. Um, I believe here in Newport, we've been able to be very supportive in the fact that I have a great team at each of the buildings that does focus on this. And I know my new director of teaching and learning, Christopher Ashley and Marcin Rembitz, they in particular look over, facilitate and look over programming for our children. So we have a good team. Transportation, we have to make sure we have that transportation in place for them first and foremost, so children can stay in familiar areas. We also have specific locations throughout the city that we know that some of our homeless are located. And working with our community partners, we're able to provide those supports, especially for some that it's better that we have them in the school environment or maybe at one of our after-school programs. We have very generous supporters that give scholarships for our children. So our children are able to leave our school building, and then maybe from there they go over to the Boys and Girls Club, or they go to the Martin Luther King Center, or they go to Up Newport, and some even go over to the Y. So we try to make sure we keep the children engaged and make sure we stay on top of their academics and their food situations. So
And of course, there are the lunch programs that are available.
absolutely, we go from breakfast, lunch, and we actually offer supper as well. Our elementary school is open at 6:30 in the morning, and it stays open till 6 at night at Pell, so that our children are in safe environments and have adult supervision.
So we're also moving in a new direction this week, in which the CDC has approved vaccines for kids.
Yes.
I know that Charahoe School District is planning a vaccination clinic. Is Newport at all, and how are you encouraging kids to go out, or families to get their kids vaccinated?
All right, so you have breaking news because we just got our dates confirmed about 2 hours ago, and I haven't even announced this yet. It'll be in my update this afternoon, but we are running clinics 4 to 6 p.m. at Pell Elementary School. We will be putting that information out. We'll be blasting it on social media. We'll also have it in all our school announcements, newsletters. We'll send out robocalls. We have November 23rd and December 17th. November 23rd and December 17th. I'm repeating it for myself as well, because I'm just really learning these dates. Director Candace Andrade is, she oversees she's our COVID coordinator, and this information just got passed on to me when I found out. November 23rd, December 17th, 4 to 6 p.m. at Pell Elementary School.
And is this just for the younger kids, or is it for any kid right through high school?
No, they were very clear with us. It is only for the 5 to 11-year-olds. They have a limited amount of vaccines. And
is there's no mandate for the kids to get the vaccine?
No, not at this time, no.
No, and I'm sure that you don't have an expectation of what kind of percentages of kids might actually be brought in.
I don't at this time, especially where we haven't even had the registration process. I don't know at this time.
I want to ask another question relative to, we talked about language and so forth. We're having I think it's 100 and some odd families or individuals who are coming to Rhode Island and may already be here from Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. Any in the Newport area, and if so, are the kids in school, and how are we dealing with them?
So I do know that we do have children in the Newport area. Yes, I have met with some families. And yes, I'm sure they're either registered or attending our schools already. So yes, the answer is yes.
And I guess I have one final question, and certainly open for anything else that you would like to add. We've seen in the election in Virginia, and we've seen across the country, the issue of critical race theory being raised. We know that this is not taught on an elementary or high school level, and is pretty much taught, perhaps, and not in all instances, on a higher ed level. But the issue has been raised in a lot of communities. I heard an interesting interview with the governor-elect, actually, during the campaign in Virginia, when he was talking about this issue, and somebody asked him if he could explain CRT. And he said he really didn't know all that much about it, but it's what he's heard. We've also had this raised in a particularly difficult way in communities like South Kingstown and Westerly. Has Newport experienced any of this, and what does that say to you in terms of how you teach our racial history going forward? Many people think that CRT is being really interpreted by many as merely just teaching American history.
So our history department, our curriculum's up on our website, so anyone and everyone who wants to see it is there. But no, we haven't. We've been very lucky. Any questions we have had, we've answered, and regarding that. But we haven't had, fortunately, the situation some other school districts have had. Our social studies are at all levels. It does reflect the diversity. I know our reading programs do as well. And that has been very important for high quality curriculums that, RIDE has advised for districts and approves for districts. But at this point in time, we really haven't had, I know others have, but Newport has always been a diverse community, and we will continue to celebrate all our children. So
it's just as kind of a side note, I got an email today talking about neo-Nazi groups in Texas causing some disruptions relative to the Holocaust, and I presume all of that is over the efforts to introduce into the curriculum books that, I guess, challenged for the Holocaust, whether it happened, and also some vandalism at, I believe it was George Washington University, that were anti-Semitic. So we have a lot of difficult sentiment in this country that we've got to get over somehow, and I think schools are the best conduit for that. That we teach people that we embrace everybody.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're very lucky here. I think our children, we have great children here and a great community, but I just welcome anyone come through our schools. It's possible
Colleen,
to celebrate all of us.
Is there anything we missed this morning that's important that people should know?
Let's see. I'm thinking. I think we hit quite a few of the top subjects that are going on. We've hit our school building projects. We hit the first quarter is almost completed. We're really working on making all our families and students comfortable and feeling safe being back in in-person learning. We've got our vaccination clinics going on. Sports are underway, full tilt. Children are participating in those, and it's nice to see that going on. Homecoming happened. It's nice to see things are getting back into the swing of things for our children and our teachers. And no one can say enough about the teachers. Everything and anything they've been doing and are doing now, they keep it going day after day. So I'm very appreciative of all that.
They had a tough year last year. They certainly, I have such admiration for teachers who go out, for everybody who's in education, who had to go through what people went through last year and were able to come out in a better place for it. One final question that comes to mind is staffing. Are you short-staffed, or you pretty well staffed?
We were doing well, and what I mean by that is we were doing well, and then we had a few people that it was military, they had to leave, they moved. So we do have some positions open, especially in the special ed area, just recently that have come up. That's a good question. I was just on that this morning with my staff. We do have some positions we're still trying to fill. We have some paraeducator positions as well. So we are still looking. We're still interviewing.
If somebody wants to apply, how should they do that?
All they have to do is go on our website at www.npsri.net. N as in Newport Public Schools, PSRI.net. And they can contact our HR department. And if they are familiar with School Spring, which a lot of people in the education world are, if they go to School Spring, they'll see the postings.
Colleen, thank you very much. Appreciate you being with us today, and we'll catch up with you next month. No storms.
All right. Ryan's waving. Are you waving at me? Or are you waving goodbye?
Hey, I am. When I get good comments, I want to make sure we share them, because too often we share the negative comments. Peggy says, thank you for the update. Jana says, I love my son's paraeducator. And Jana also said, asked about the COVID vaccine mandate, but you all answered that. So just wanted to share a couple positive notes there.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
We will talk
to you in December. Can you believe it?
December.
Oh my gosh, December. Oh, I should put in a plug. If anyone would like to donate a lot of money to the Rogers High School project, we would welcome that.
There you
welcome it. Put your name on the building. We'll get something for you.
Excellent.
All
right.
right.
There's a guy who lives in that Jay. What's his name?
That guy.
Yeah, that guy. You know,
He likes cars too.
You put a car in front of the building, right?
Well, automotive. We teach automotive here.
There we go.
Jay Leno Automotive Center. Think about it.
How about legal? There's Judge Judy, right? We should be able to get something from Judge Judy too.
We got everybody.
We'll have to try those.
Thank you, Colleen.
All right. Take care. Have a great afternoon and have happy Thanksgiving.
You as well, indeed.
All right.
And,
take care.
Superintendent Colleen Burns-Jermain joins us every month here on, I guess, this program that we're going to call it. So she will be with us next month.
Yeah, lots of great information today, though. The topping ceremony over at Pell is going to be pretty exciting next Thursday, and also the clinics for those with kids from 5 to 11. There are going to be the vaccination clinics at Pell from 4 to 6 p.m. November 23 and December 17th.
We will make sure that we spread that word. So it's just coming down, and that you heard it here first. Excellent, Mr. Prosnitz. And then just as we have people's attention, Mayor Napolitano will be joining us on a regular monthly schedule.
That's right. We've got that set up, and that should be in about 2 weeks, I think. I have to check my schedule. But.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you, sir. If anybody missed any portion of this conversation, you can view the whole thing, share with your friends. It's available on whatsupnewp.com. If you have a question that you want answered from Mayor Napolitano or Superintendent Jermain, please send it our way, and we'll make sure it gets asked.
What was that in the background? Was that
big question coming from June? So that means the mailman's here.
There you go.
All right. Thanks, Frank. On behalf of all of us here at What's Up Newp, we thank Superintendent Jermain for joining us today. That's going to do it for us today. We'll chat with you next time.